Welcome back to Cheddar, everyone. Bitcoin's record-breaking streak continues. The cryptocurrency blasting through the $52,000 mark just 40 days after hitting the 40,000 milestone. But is the current surge in Bitcoin sustainable? We're joined by Kerner, who's a partner over at blockchain Coinvestors and CEO of BigToken. Lou, great to have you here with us today, and thanks for taking the time. Should we be expecting more companies planning to accept Bitcoin as a payment?
Sure. We're in the very early stages of Bitcoin being adopted by investors. We're seeing it now being adopted by companies to hold it in their treasury instead of cash. And certainly we're going to see more and more companies accepting it as payment. My company, BigToken, actually just announced today that we reward our users with BigToken points that they can cash out for dollars. We just announced today will allow them to cash out in Bitcoin in addition to paying our employees in Bitcoin. So we're in the super early days of what is I think one of the biggest things to happen in the history of mankind.
Okay, so support from companies like Tesla and Uber signaling support for cryptocurrency, that carries a lot of weight. But then there's also the accessibility and attainment of Bitcoin to even make purchases where, at today's trading values, one Bitcoin would get you a pretty souped up Model 3 for Tesla, and who knows how many Uber rides you would be able to take. And so with that lifetime membership that you could have seemingly on the Uber front, what more do you watch from some other major companies that would continue to give you more of a bullish nature or a bullish sentiment to really say, hey, Bitcoin still has more room to run?
Well, again, it's still very, very early days. The percentage of people on the planet who owns it really rounds to zero. There are only a few companies who have announced that they are holding it in their treasury. And no governments have announced yet that they're carrying it in their treasury. And certainly, everybody who's as bullish as I am about Bitcoin believe that these things are just eventualities. Bitcoin's going to continue to be a volatile asset. So, nothing goes straight up forever. We've had a lot of dramatic pullbacks in Bitcoin, and there will be dramatic pullbacks to come. But, if you look out 5 years, 10 years, I think we're going to be seeing it, at dramatically higher prices. I believe in the next 10 years, it'll get to the $1 million, per Bitcoin. But you don't have to buy a whole Bitcoin.
Lou, I think we're losing you just a little bit. If you still have me, I'm going to try to ask you this question and see if we can get your audio squared away. But as I think about, okay, I think we have you. As we think about bigger banks getting involved in this and some of the other larger players, Bitcoin, it started with this realm of transparency where you knew what types of transactions were taking place because everything was happening on the blockchain. And so with each block transaction that takes place, and once you kind of figure out what somebody's node might be as well, you could get a good sense of who's transacting what, and the ledger technology also supporting that transparency. And so how do you maintain that transparency when you do have larger players and larger transactions taking place?
Well, you will always have that transparency. That's the great thing about Bitcoin is, everything's on the distributed ledger. And so you get to see every single transaction that's done in Bitcoin. It's there on the Bitcoin blockchain forever. And that's one of the things that transparency that makes it such an attractive asset.
While we have you, is there a new floor here, and what happens if there is a crash?
The same thing happens when there's a Bitcoin crash. It happens when there's a stock market crash. People who aren't long-term believers tend to leave, but the people who have been in Bitcoin or who have an appreciation for what Bitcoin is, will continue to hodl, which is, hold on for dear life because of the volatility. And the idea is to hold it for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, and you really create a generational wealth.
I'd been pronouncing hodl wrong this entire time. I've continued to say hodl. but HODL is exactly the way that we will go forward from here. Thank you for that clarification. Lastly, while we've got you, Elon Musk has inquired about transferring the Tesla balance sheet to completely Bitcoin. Do you see any major company taking on a task like that, and what would it even look like?
Well, certainly Elon is a trailblazer, and anything he talks about doing should be listened to. But again, I think we're in the really super early days of Bitcoin. It has a bunch of unique properties, and I think that we'll see all kinds of new applications for Bitcoin rolled out over time.
Lou Kerner, partner at blockchain Coinvestors and CEO of BigToken. Thanks for working through some of the audio issues with us. Of course, that is the environment that we find ourselves in right now.